All right, let's see what's here in Nigeria, what the Bank of Industry is doing with SMEs, small businesses. They should end up in the market, but only if they have the right funding. So I had a conversation with the divisional director of the Bank of Industry on especially working capital, which seem to be ignored in most cases, but of course is the blood, the lifeline of every business.
BOI itself is a government response to developing MSMEs in the industrial landscape of the country. The government also has tried to come up with several industrial policies to address the issues of MSMEs. Paramount amongst them is the issue of funding. If you take an hierarchical look at what MSMEs consider as challenge, you see that funding falls between the first two. And the response of that to the economy is that you provide access to affordable funding for MSMEs to be able to thrive. So yes, the government, through its policies and through the Bank of Industry, before 2025, our total book, or the total number of MSMEs in our book, were less than 3,000. But why I say the word adequate is that there has been an astronomical rise in that number this year. This year alone, we are able to disburse to over 6,000 MSMEs. And that is because of the focus. Sufficiently, or let me not use the word sufficient, but let me say that addressing some of the major issues that have to do with MSMEs' ability to access funding, and that is the issue of collateralization of their loan. So we've relaxed that to accommodate for personal guarantors, and that has widened the gap for that has closed the gap for MSMEs to be able to access funding. We've also secured the possibility of external guarantees from institutions. We've also tried to secure institutional guarantees from external credit granting agencies to assist in closing the gaps for MSMEs to be able to access funding also.
And still talking about funding, the issue of working capital, it's not very loud, yet it's a major one for existing and running businesses.
Working capital is the life of a business because it has to do with the day-to-day operation of that business. If a company is in operation and it does not have the required financing to be able to restock for production, that company is dead. So we cannot but emphasize the need of supporting MSMEs in the areas of working capital. We saw that lacuna, and in 2014, the Bank of Industry decided to start supporting MSMEs, and indeed all their projects, providing them with working capital to enable them purchase raw materials and spare parts to keep them operational.
So how exactly does this working capital work for the Bank of Industry?
Money by itself is not an end, but a means. So if the MSME, for instance, has to open source for his raw materials, then you have to make that fund available to him to be able to open source for his raw materials. But if it's such that his supply comes from organized private sector, from a known buyer, then what we do is that through his invoice, we are able to transfer the money to the supplier to supply him directly. Then upon confirmation, we make payment. Okay. For small businesses, what the bank has done is to dilute the collateral requirement. Most times the condition we talk about is collateral requirement. So what the bank has done is to dilute the collateral requirement to one single guarantor. And that guarantor must be someone that works with the government or a banker of level of banking officer, or you're a priest, for a well-established. So what we did was to widen the pool of people that can guarantee the MSME to access loan. So once you take away the physical collateral out of it, and the MSME cannot provide someone that knows him, to say, yes, I know this man, please meet his funding need, I believe he's going to repay. And that's all it takes now. And that has also created opportunity for most MSMEs now to access our funding.